So these are the Carib medals. Now there's a distinct, these are the medals that were given to the Europeans. You'll find the Carib medal at the National Army Museum in the UK. Okay, the medal was given to British soldiers who captured and killed Carib warriors. According to the archives, the British intentionally went from calling the Caribs the St. Vincent to refer to them as Black Caribs around the 1760s at a council meeting, again dated May 10, 1769. They document everything, you know. And so, those were the ones that were given. And if you see right here, what is this? This is the land right for a sugar estate. From the beginning, I said everything that they did was for our land. We know that throughout the Caribbean, what do they produce the most?
Sugar.
Right? So all of this, from the time that they came there, they went there, they wanted to conquer us, they wanted to get our land, and they did anything necessary. Now, this is the, again, look at this closely. This is what they gave the European soldiers. So, of course, with Garifuna people, we were one of the peoples that when we saw the slaves were there being treated, we welcomed them in. We would take them in to our midst. They lived among us. But what they did was, again, to conquer and divide and conquer. They used those slaves that we helped. Say, hey, if you go ahead and you help us to defeat these Garifuna people, we're going to give you your freedom. What do you think they were going to do? They want their freedom, right? So now you have the Garifuna people and you have the slave people fighting amongst themselves because, you know, they didn't have enough, the Europeans didn't have enough soldiers to defeat us. So these are the medals which they gave to the Black people. And look at this image. This is an image of somebody with a sword hanging over a Garifuna, defeated Garifuna. And on this other one, bold, loyal, obedient. This is a picture of a Black soldier. Those are the tokens that they gave them. You know, that they gave to their slaves and everything like that for going against us and for defeating us. This is something that's going to continue to happen throughout history, just, you know, the whole conquer and divide. The Garifuna Genocide. We know when they talk about genocide, they usually just refer to, you know, the Jewish genocide, but so many ethnicities suffered through genocide. We just, you know, and our genocide was one of those ones that they seriously tried to annihilate us. They absolutely tried to get rid of us. It was not until 1797 when the British Empire, along with the reinforcement support of the American warship called the Zebra and the Rosebud. Who knew that the Americans would be involved? But again, you don't hear about that in history. But again, the two warships were called Zebra and Rosebud. It wasn't until then, with the reinforcement, and I'm going to say that, with the reinforcement of the American support, it wasn't until then that the British were able to defeat us. Because at that time, during the Second War, again, the Garifuna people knowing our terrain, knowing our land, you know, knowing what to do, knowing that, you know, we knew their weapons, we knew our routes. So we were, again, starting to defeat them, so they went and they're like, hey, we need some reinforcement. And the closest ships that they had were in Louisiana port, so they were able to send that over there. And during that time, that's when, you know, they were able to gain the upper hand and defeat us. Now, between October 1797 and March 1797, an estimated 4,338 to 5,200 Black Caribs here in the Gahfu were captured and imprisoned on a barren island called Beliso. Now, Beliso was what it was, barren. We didn't have anything there. We didn't have anything there. Even the way to get to Beliso, the waters are so rugged and so rough. It's hard to fish there. We've been there, we went there in 2019, and we went to that island, and it was so difficult to get there, it's ridiculous. To this day, it's still a barren island, nobody lives there. So that's what they're imprisoned us for over a year, 18 months. And there, half of our population died. They gave us little to no supplies. We had to do the best that we could, you know, and from there, you know, again, roughly 5,200 people prisoners there. By the time that they, exiled us, it was only 2,400 of us left. Okay? 2,400 of us left. And of course, we had those Garifuna who remained hidden, who never, succumbed to any of this stuff. They stayed hidden, and they endured a lot of stuff staying hidden over there too. Those ones that remained in belief, though, they lost their language, they lost their culture, they lost their identity, they lost everything. Because by them remaining there, they had to assimilate to those same people who occupied and conquered their territory. Like in many places, like in Taino, when they were there, they couldn't speak their language. They would force them. If you speak your language, we're going to cut out your tongue. They did the same thing to us. If you speak your language, if you practice your practices, you're going to go to jail. And they know what happened to our people. Honestly, they didn't know what happened to our people until roughly 40 to 50 years ago. Because what happened in St. Vincent was they erased our history. If you ask them 40 years ago what happened to those Garifuna people that were exiled, they all died. And we know that because we talked to them. Well, what do you think happened to us? We honestly didn't know. Did they talk about us in your schools? No. All we know is that you guys got on ships and you were exiled, and we just thought you all died. So, one of the things when we formed Gahfu was in 2005, we did a reunion with our Taino cousins, with our brothers from St. Vincent, and the same thing that the Tainos knew about us, we knew about them. And when we got together, the one thing, when it's like, what did you know? And each of us said, well, we thought the Tainos died, because that's what they told us. And the Tainos said, we thought that you all died. And the St. Vincent people, that's what they did. They erased us from history. That's what they're trying to do today, is to erase all of our histories. And because we didn't allow that to happen, with the oral histories, with the things that we do with our culture, after all these years of what they did, we're still here today. And we're not going anywhere. So, again, after 18 long months of us being there on this barren island, we suffered so much. And on Saturday, March 11, 1797, they shipped us off first to Becwa. And the thing is, when they shipped us off, they divided us by colors. So even the same families, same mother, same father, same children, we all know that we all come in different hues, regardless of what our color. Someone may be a little bit paler than the other. So you never knew who was going to get shipped off. The mother could be considered a native, and the father could be considered too dark to be a native. So he would go on a ship, and the mother would stay. They would make that decision on who was an indigenous Caribbean, who was an escaped slave, by the color of our skin. When we were younger, with my parents, my sister is a lot clearer than me. I'm in the middle, and my sister is a darker hue. My mom is clear like my sister, and my father is a darker hue. So my father, we used to play this game, it's like, okay, who would stay and who would go? And it became a thing, like, okay, who do you love the most? Do you love your mom the most, or do you love the daddy the most? So my sister was like, I'll stay with you, daddy. I would have went with you on that shit, so we made it a game. But we made it a game to teach history. That was part of teaching history. That was one of the ways that my parents taught us to Garifuna history. Oral, we made it into a game. There was nothing funny about it. It was sad because it happened in real life, but it was a way of him teaching us what it was, what it looked like then, and what it could look like today. Look at what's happening with families being divided. That's nothing new. Again, history repeating itself. When mothers and fathers today, through this immigration, have to decide who goes and who stays, because one is an American and one is not. That's the same thing that happened over there. They were basically saying, they look indigenous, so they're there, they belong there, but you don't look indigenous, you don't look like you belong here, so you're going. In a nutshell, history again repeating itself. So the Garifuna people first arrived to Port Royal, Honduras, Roatan, on April 12, 1797. Again, we just celebrated 228 years of living in exile. The only way we are allowed to go back to our homeland is through basically going there on vacation. Going there on vacation. You know, we don't have the right to buy land over there, even though all of that land, I showed you the map, is ours. But the only way we could go back there is if we go there and we visit. You know, so the Garifuna people lived in exile pretty much amongst ourselves on this island for 32 years. We didn't venture out, but when we arrived to Roatan, because when they put us there, when they dropped us off there, again, it was another barren island, they gave us 6 months of supplies to survive on. And a lot of those supplies were laced with cyanide, because they did not expect us to survive. They did not expect us to survive the journey. According to our oral history, it's living in those boats. The Garifuna people started to see the rodents were dying when they went into the feed. So we didn't eat the feed because we saw what was happening. Their intention was not for us to survive that journey. And when they gave us that feed, that 6 month supply, they were expecting 6 months from now we were gonna all be dead. They didn't expect us. That's genocide. Because you have to kind of think about, what did the Garifuna people do that was so bad? What did we do? All we did was we fought for our land. But because the crown, the king, King Charles II had claimed it, what we did that was so vile was we had the nerve to fight against the British. So Garifuna people were charged with treason against the British crown. The sentence to treason is what? Death. So they had no intention. They didn't kill us in St. Vincent. They killed half of us. So their goal was to kill the remainder of us upon our voyage. And if we didn't die then, they were going to kill the rest of us when we landed. But we didn't die there. You know, the mercy is we asked the Spanish from the mainland that were there, please grant us mercy. We need food, we need supplies, we need whatever. But because of all of the things that the British had told them about us, that we were cannibals, we were this, we were everything else. You know, the Spanish people were like, okay, we'll help you, but in order for us to help you evil people, we gotta baptize you. We gotta baptize you. So when you're starving, you're hungry, you know, you do what you gotta do. So we all got baptized, and Garifuna people were given Spanish names. That's why my last name is Morales. It's not because my slave owner was a Spanish person. It's because during that time, all of us have to be baptized with Spanish name in order for us to get the help that we needed to survive. It was a survival thing.